The full disk encryption software blade transparently secures all data and hard drives within a client computer. It protects data at rest on the machine's hard drive and ensures that the data is only accessed by authorized users. Full disk encryption protects the user data, operating system files, temporary files, and erased files. It combines operating system boot protection with pre-boot authorization and encryption to authorize accessibility to data on desktop computers and laptops. In this example, we are going to install Checkpoint Full Disk Encryption. Start by opening Smart Endpoint and log in. Go to the Policy tab. Clone the default full disk encryption rule. Select the OU to where the rule is going to be applied and click Next. In the Actions window, you can select your option for the rule. Under Volume Encryption, you can choose to encrypt the entire drive or select Minimum Encryption so you can enable Pre-boot. Under Pre-boot Protection, you can choose to have a pre-boot environment or turn it off. Under Access Management, you can choose to have the system automatically learn users as they log into Windows, or you can manually define the users. Under Lock Screen Authentication, we are going to use the native sign-on for OS. Click Next to continue. Enter a name for this rule and click Finish. Click on the Deployment tab and click on Create Rule Wizard. Select the OU where we are going to have the full disk encryption software blade deployed to, and click Next. Choose the blades that you are going to install, ensure that full disk encryption is selected, and click Next. Enter a name for the deployment rule and click Finish. Save and install the policy. As the agent checks in, it will automatically download and install the full disk encryption blade. When prompted, click on Install Now. When the installation is complete, you will need to reboot the system. Click on Restart when prompted. After the reboot, log back into Windows. After you log in, the agent will check in and get the full disk encryption policy. Since the rule was set to acquire the users automatically, the full disk encryption will go into user acquisition. Once a user has been acquired, the agent will upload the recovery file to the Endpoint Manager. Encryption will not start until this has been complete. Once the recovery file has been uploaded, it will prompt you to reboot the system. When prompted, click Yes to reboot. When the system reboots, it will install the pre-boot environment. When you are presented with the pre-boot environment, log in with your Active Directory username and password. Once you are back in Windows, the full disk encryption will start to encrypt the drive. You can view the status of the encryption by opening the Endpoint agent and clicking on the Full Disk Encryption section. The encryption process will take a while. If the system fails to boot and the drive needs to be recovered, recovery media will need to be created. To do this, log into Smart Endpoint. In the Users and Computers tab, find the system that needs to be recovered. In the top menu, select Encryption Recovery Media. If you know the username and password for the users, you can skip this step. If you do not know the user and password, you can add one to recover the system. Click on Add under the Users Allowed to Recover section. Enter the username and password and click OK. In the target location, choose either a Write as ISO file or Write to USB. Click on Write Media. Since we are writing data to a USB drive, all data on the USB drive will be erased. Click OK. When the write was successful, a dialog box will appear. Click OK. Boot the system that needs recovery with the media you created. When you boot to the recovery media, you will be presented with the Endpoint Security Recover login. You will need to log in with an account that was designated in the Users Allowed to Recover when you created the media. Enter the username and password and click OK. Select Recover All. The decryption process will start. Depending on the system, configuration will determine the time to decrypt the system. Do not power off the system during the decryption process. If you do need to power off the system, ensure you click the Pause button.